I'm giving myself 24 hours to make this video. Writing, recording, editing, making the thumbnail, all in 24 hours. Two reasons for this. One, I am extremely busy. Two, I don't really have any big narrative I want to talk about with these levels like the last two Gauntlet videos. I'm only going to talk about the 10 winners of the contest this time. Just in case you don't remember, the rules to this contest are that the levels must have two different paths that are accessible from the start of the level. The paths have to have some sort of change, and they can be little minor visual changes or huge gameplay changes. And lastly, once again, all of the footage of these levels is from Vibrant because, come on, I have 24 hours. Also, my computer can't run Sinless Ash. Number 10, Radiant Glen. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that this level was made for this contest, I wouldn't have even known it had a second path at all. Hell, for the first time I played it, I had trouble figuring out how to activate the second path because I thought this little blue pad was for a coin route at first. Anyway, I think the idea behind the two routes is that everything is artificially lit on the first route with light bulbs, and then the second route has the lights off, so everything becomes naturally lit with stuff like moonlight and glowing flowers. And that's a cool idea, but the level really doesn't do much with it. The second part doesn't seem fluorescently lit or anything, it just looks the same as the first route but with pink glow over it, and the light bulb decorations are turned off. And even then, all the parts with light bulb decorations are on top of yellow colored backgrounds, so it's really hard to even notice that they're turned off. That being said, there's a lot of really nice things I like about this level, like this little animation whenever you jump in the pond. And once again, the part with the giant light bulb has some great lighting effects, like having the platforms flicker and the glow in the background syncs with the music. It's a really decent looking level overall, but pretty much everything I like about it has nothing to do with the theme, and even the gameplay isn't really that good. This robot part absolutely sucks. Number 9, Subdivision Zone. When you're making a level with split paths, there is a pretty big risk to it that I think a lot of people don't even realize. The level needs to justify the existence of both paths. The whole reason some of these levels have different paths is to give the level more scale, more stuff to do, a whole bunch of places to explore. The two paths in this level take the player through two different construction zones, one overground and one underground. But I think this level would have been more interesting if both of the paths were combined, which might sound obvious at first, but stay with me. This level has cool ideas in the top path and the bottom path, but it doesn't have enough of them for each path to sustain a whole level. There's a lot of parts in both paths that are just made up of generic building blocks, which is especially weird in the bottom route because it's supposed to be like exploding and on fire, but then there's just this corridor that's taken no damage at all. The fact that the level splits into paths just doesn't really add much to the whole thing. I think the level would be much more interesting if it was just one path, because there's plenty of cool things this level does. I really like how the construction equipment syncs with the music, especially in the top half with the hydraulic presses. And the level is really dynamic and has lots of moving parts and different color schemes. The explosions in the bottom half look really cool. I like how this level has a lot of objects in front of the foreground really close to the camera, some of which are even blurry, which is another great way to add scale to the level, but it is risky because it can obscure the gameplay. But this level does a great job preventing that from happening, mainly because a lot of the foreground objects are either really small or have holes in them. Number 8, Double Dimension. The only winner in the last two contests to be below the 40,000 object limit. Just barely, but it still deserves a mention. Anyway, this level's weird. This time, there isn't any kind of overlapping theme to the two routes, which isn't inherently a bad thing, it's just weird. One of the routes is themed after some kind of Candyland, and the other is a RobTop level mix, which is pretty funny. So I was originally going to put this level in the B+ tier, but honestly, after thinking about it for some time, I can't really think of anything I don't like about it. It's just a really fun, easier level, and it's awesome to have another cartoony art style level in the Gauntlets. I especially like the animated cutscenes in this level and how they sometimes help smoothly transition into the next part. The Candyland part is just so nice and colorful and has lots of really cool designs like the chocolate river and the floating islands and the dripping icing from the 3D blocks. That looks really cool. And I love how dynamic the RobTop level mix is, with having backgrounds pulse and move a lot when they normally wouldn't. And I like the little touches of the 3D cube having animations and different facial expressions. Number 7, Snow Flies in Fog. This is a level that perfectly benefits from only having visual changes with almost no gameplay changes. Since this level has a more realistic-ish art style, it's really cool that the two different routes are also themed off of something realistic, like daytime and nighttime. Honestly, I think that's actually more interesting for this level in particular than it would have been if it was just Path 1 versus Path 2. Because unlike Double Dimension and Subdivision Zone, this level isn't about exploring different paths. It's instead meant to simulate a calm, relaxing walk through a snowy landscape. There isn't really anything in particular to look at, it's just that the atmosphere is so nice and relaxing that you can't help but want to get lost in it. And that's not to say it's a visually boring level. There's plenty of set pieces like the city and the train and the inside of a building, and being able to see it all in both daytime and nighttime is just really cool. The gameplay is a little weird in places, like it's kinda hard to see the obstacles in this part, and then of course there's the spiral staircase with a weird upward nail sticking through it like a movie A Quiet Place. But overall, it is simple enough to fully sight read despite being over 3 minutes long, and it's not so simple that it makes the whole level boring. Number 6, Seasonal Haven. This level is a huge upgrade from frickin' Sanctuary of Light. This level looks really pretty. So basically everything I said about snowflies and fog can also apply to this level. Only instead of being a walk through the snow, it's a walk through a forest with a waterfall and trees that change with the seasons. And this level does a great job recreating those changes in a very colorful and fun way. The gameplay isn't the best because it does kind of spam jump warps a lot. It's kind of hard to tell from a video, but if you actually play the level, you'll know what I mean. But I honestly still think it's kind of fun overall, just not the coin routes. God, the coin routes in this level are so bad. Number 5, Wildcard. When I talked about Double Dimension, I said it was weird how that level didn't have much of an overlapping theme to connect the two routes together. While I still really like that level, I think this one does a much better job justifying the abstract theme by giving it more of a narrative, that being a literal wildcard. The normal route is pretty normal. It's a very normal level with some pretty good gameplay and really cool design choices like these weird stacks of monsters. But I think the real star of this level is the wild route. This route will definitely take a bit of learning, but after learning it, it is incredibly fun to both play and watch. The designs of all the different monsters are really cute and interesting, and all the blocks are so dynamic and constantly moving. And even though the wild route is the big hook of the level, the normal route is still interesting enough to justify playing for that route first. Number 4, Growing Insane. The creator of this level has said they were inspired by real-world botanical gardens that they visited, and if this level is anything to go by, then I'm jealous. I want to go to gardens like that. I like that the level has a mix of indoor and outdoor parts in both routes. Variety is always really nice. And the method of activating the second path is really creative. You have to trigger a rain totem to create a thunderstorm that causes the flowers to grow. This level is just great. It's fun, it's creative, it looks amazing and vibrant and colorful, it has really cool looking arrow indicators, and it has some really cute, whatever these things are. They're like, kind of frogs, I guess? I don't know, they're really cute though. Number 3, Sinless Ash. So, I have not played Terraria at all, and I know very little about it other than that it's heavily focused on exploration and combat. And this level is obviously trying to simulate that kind of experience, and it does a great job. Immediately, it starts off with the player grabbing the Ark of the Elements and fighting a bunch of profane guardians with some really cool sword animations. Even the combat is reminiscent of Terraria, complete with health bars that are probably really important in Terraria even if they're useless in Geometry Dash. And though I wasn't a huge fan of the Horizon-style lasers at first, the level at least has arrows that do a good job steering you away from them. This level feels like a love letter to Terraria, and even though it's not optimized very well at all, the gameplay is great. It's very readable despite the level having 2 boss fights, and I like how the locations, especially the small town, are structured, along with cute, quick little NPC dialogue. Number 2, Afterlife. Since this is a free-star level, it's guaranteed to be the first level of the Gauntlet, meaning that when 2.2 comes out, a lot of people will be playing this level right away. This is one of the most beautiful levels I've ever seen. It's really difficult for me to... Fuck you! It's really difficult for me to figure out how to start talking about this level because it is absolutely mesmerizing. And I think the biggest reason for that is just the sheer meticulousness of all the effects. There's a very consistent parallax effect throughout most of the level with some really creative lighting that's pretty hard to pull off in a GD level, even by having lens flares in some parts, which is a lot harder to make than it looks. And there's so many little things about this level that all come together to make it as beautiful as it is. And if I listed them all, we would be here forever, and I only have 24 hours. This level deserves to be in the S tier, not even just because it looks amazing, but because I really love how the theme of life is handled in this level. Both of the different routes in this level represent different perspectives on life. The first one is bright and uplifting, full of hope and optimism. And that feeling is best represented in my favorite part in the whole level, where more and more player icons gradually appear alongside the user, as a reminder that they're not alone. The second path, on the other hand, is harsh and turbulent. It's an arduous road to the end, and it can feel really lonely sometimes. But no matter which perspective you have on life, whether you like it or not, you will ultimately arrive at the euphoric afterlife. And even though you're in a different place than when you started, the impact you left on this planet will remain even after you go. Hence why life is forever. I'm really upset that I'm trying to be brief in this video because there's so much to unravel in this level. There's so much heart behind it, and it really shows, and there's just so much to talk about, and I have so little time. But even despite all of that, this level just barely missed out on the number 1 spot because, well, number 1, change of scene. This level also has a really interesting message, though this time, it's something that I've actually talked about in my other 2 Gauntlet videos. One point that I've always driven home is that, for Geometry Dash levels, no matter how simple they are or poor the technical skill of the creator is, they are capable of inspiring people and creating incredible experiences. This level is almost like a culmination of that idea. It is literally about a feeder coming to life through the power of what is explicitly called imagination. In the World Gauntlet video, I talked about a level called Everglade, a snowy level by a group of Philippine creators. The whole idea behind that level was that it created an experience that the creators were not capable of having in real life. It can't snow in the Philippines, which is why they wanted their level to be themed after a snowstorm. The creators used their imagination to create an experience that they never would have had in reality, that being snow in the Philippines. Everglade is a really incredible level for that reason alone, but there's lots of levels like that. Geometry Dash's level editor is so incredibly versatile that you can basically make anything you want. It's like a feeder, and the creator is the conductor pulling the strings from behind the curtains. There's so many inner workings that happen behind the scenes, but when you're just playing a level, you might not realize that. Speaking of that, it might be a good idea to talk about how insanely well this level is optimized. For how gorgeous both routes of this level are, it doesn't even hit 70,000 objects. And people might not have even realized that without the indicator at the start. I could go on about this level, but I think you guys get the idea. Also, I kinda need to wrap up, I'm running out of time. It's not just that it plays and looks amazing, but it also understands the idea of bringing theater to life with the power of imagination, while also providing a window into how much thought really goes into maintaining the theater. And while I really love Afterlife for its incredible message, Ruta del Sol for its beautiful display of history and culture, The Behemoth for its incredible creative storytelling, and even Generation Retro for everything, I think this level has to be my favorite out of all of them. A level about bringing imagination to life through theater. It's an incredible thing.